Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Hope you guys just had a wonderful rest of your Monday. Kevin Kinkead joins the show today from Crossing Broad, crossingbroad.com, to talk all things 76ers. We touch on Trey Turner a little bit. We talk a little Eagles linebacker. We have a little fun with Kevin Kinkead today. He also has a very interesting take on who he is pulling for to get the 76ers head coaching job, and nobody, at least not of like national media, really anybody local media, is even mentioning this name with serious consideration. But I like it because it's outside the box while still being inside the box. It's an interesting one. Kevin Kinkead joins the show. Phillies, you know what they did last night? They lost again. That game was not fun. It was fun in the fourth inning when you saw a couple of home runs, but for the most part, that game was not fun. It was a laboring effort from Zack Wheeler. I feel like that's the way to best explain it. It wasn't his best. Whenever you talk about a pitcher, you know, he didn't have his best stuff, but he gutted it out. Like, I appreciate the gut out, okay? For 6 innings, helping out your bullpen, not making them be extra exasperated when they don't need to be. He did gut out a performance last night. That I do appreciate. But if you're focusing on how hard he worked and not how well he pitched, then it wasn't that great. That was not the sharpest we've ever seen Zack Wheeler. And yes, that is the best way to describe it. Not the sharpest, and didn't have his best stuff, but gutted out 6 innings. And that's exactly what he did yesterday. Just did not have the put-away pitches that he has had in previous starts in his career. And this year, you continue the struggle bus when it comes to inconsistent starting pitching. Aaron Nola, I cross my fingers, has figured it out, maybe. But this is the first time in a while Zack Wheeler had back-to-back bad starts. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Dalton Guthrie's throw in the second inning where the wheels were just coming off for the Phillies. We'll talk about him getting the start in center field yesterday and how he helped the Phillies in the little bit that they had help. So we'll get into that. And Nolan Smith signed. Now, who is it? Keely Ringo is the only Eagles draft pick who has yet to sign with the team that drafted him. And Nolan Smith signing, it's not by any means a surprise, but now they have both their first-round picks under contract. So that's wonderful to see, both with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. And they continue to put together this defense, this defensive line and edge rushers that should be wreaking havoc on quarterbacks yet again. I don't know if it'll be a record 72 sack type of season, but it is still going to be a pretty nice season, I feel, for this Eagles defensive line as well as their edge rushers. So I look forward to that. And one comparison I have for Nolan Smith that we really haven't talked about a lot. And if you haven't gotten a chance, now you've probably gotten a chance to watch Nolan Smith do the most important thing, which is play the game of football. But watching him speak last week during rookie camp, there is a name that jumped to mind that I think a lot of people are going to be big fans of. Nolan Smith, I know a lot of people want to talk about the comparison with Hassan Reddick and how he could be the new Hassan Reddick, and he can learn a lot from Hassan Reddick. There's a combination there that I think people have missed, and we'll get to that. And it came to mind yesterday when the news broke that he did sign with the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's what's on the show today. Oh, and how about this? LeBron James got swept out of the Western Conference Finals by Nikola Jokic. That's 2-time MVP. Should have been 3-time MVP. Nikola Jokic got swept out of the Western Conference Finals, and the Nuggets are headed to the NBA Finals. How about that? And what a finish it was. So we'll talk about that as well. And that's what we got on today's program. So let's settle in and talk some Phillies baseball, shall we? It didn't look good from the start. It really didn't look good from the start. With Zack Wheeler on the hill yesterday for the Phillies, you see Arizona go out there, and it was a laboring first half of the inning. I think it was Carroll that ended up having the 10-pitch at bat against Zack Wheeler, and he kept on working. Then he caps off that 10-pitch at bat with a screamer to second base where Bryson Stott was making a phenomenal play, diving to his left, making the play to get the out. Then Walker steps up there, flies out to center field to end the threat. Now, Zack Wheeler did, before he gave up a 10-pitch at bat, which did end in an out, so gave up. Maybe that's stretching it. But Bryson Stott makes the great play right there. Before that, Marte is up at the plate, and he works a walk. So Zack Wheeler, really not known for walking, has had a little bit of an issue with walks this season, more so than what we have seen in years past with him. And just doesn't look like himself. He got out of the inning unscathed. And again, it was mostly thanks to a great play at second base from Bryson Stott. But he just didn't look like himself. It was a 20-pitch first inning for Zack Wheeler. So already my radar was up. But I was hoping that one inning that seems to bite most Phillies pitchers in the old behind, that was going to be it. He escaped unscathed. Maybe it was going to be the first inning like it was in San Francisco for him, where he was going to struggle and then hopefully settle in. It turned out it would be struggling throughout the game, and the first inning was really just an indication that the second inning wasn't going to be so great either. So the Phillies step up to the plate there in the first inning, and they don't get any runs across. Trey Turner gets a 7-pitch at bat in the leadoff spot. Let me pause right there. I don't know why I'm still seeing Trey Turner bat leadoff for this Phillies team. I'm the guy that is still maintaining hope that there is a much better version of Trey Turner that we have yet to see this baseball season. I think he has looked a little bit different since his day off, and I was certainly calling for the day off. I think that his first at-bats in particular seemed like they were going on a little longer. He's taking more pitches. He is fouling more pitches away. He's looking for that good pitch to hit. He doesn't seem to be as pressing as much. I mentioned in his leadoff at-bat 2 days ago, he had 10 pitches. Yesterday was a 7-pitch at-bat. That was a nice thing to see. We'll hear from Rob Thompson in a second about what he had to say about Trey Turner and how he looks a little bit different since that day off that he gave him. But I don't need him at the leadoff spot. I don't like him at the leadoff spot. I think of all the things that you have seen so far this season, I know that Bryce Harper is my 3-hole hitter, and I know that Bryson Stott is my leadoff hitter. And I don't need to go and do any more digging, any more research, anything like that. I already know who my leadoff hitter is. So why am I changing things up? I get that you got to tinker with the lineup every once in a while, but why am I having Nick Castellanos bat out of the cleanup spot, the spot that he's done very well in, and now he's batting in the 2-hole? Very simple. Bryson Stott, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto. I mean, really, that pretty much 1 through 6 has been hammered out as far as I'm concerned with the Phillies lineup. I know that you want to tinker every once in a while. Maybe they can change this around, get this guy going. Right now, I want to see if I can get Trey Turner going, so I'm going to move him to the leadoff spot. Why would I do that? Why would I highlight him coming back from his nice, cozy day off and put him in the leadoff spot? And for the people that say, oh, well, he's been a leadoff hitter. Yeah, he has been a leadoff hitter. But here in Philadelphia, and for the most part of his time in Los Angeles, he was a 2-hole hitter. And I'm fine with it. That is perfect for him. Especially when you have a guy that is absolutely 1,000,000,000% taking the reins of being a leadoff hitter like Bryson Stott. So why am I going to demote Bryson Stott? Oh, yeah, another tough lefty yesterday. Bryson Stott, again, is hitting lefties better than he is righties. So that's not a concern. Good Lord. So anyway, and I like Rob Thompson, but the lineups this year is a little shaky. Not a big fan. So I didn't like that going into it. But anyway, Trey Turner goes out there. And in his first at bat, it was a 7-pitch at bat. He did end up striking out. And he struck out swinging over top of a nasty hook that Henry threw him yesterday. That was out of the strike zone, and he swung over top of it. After that, Castellanos flew out to center field. Harper got the infield single, and then JT Realmuto grounded into the fielder's choice. Now, here's what's wild. As the game went on, and the Phillies in that second inning, where that great throw by Dalton Guthrie happened, and the wheels came off for Zack Wheeler, unfortunately. No pun intended there. Phillies come out of that inning down 3-0. Bryson Stott had a great play diving catch in the first inning, diving to his left to get the out. And then in the second inning, had a horrible play. One hopper was hit to him at second base. Instead of fielding that, turning 2, and having a runner on third with 2 outs, he can't make the play there. And now you have the bases loaded with nobody out. So that was not exactly great. And that inning even led off with the Gurriel home run. So now you have the bases loaded, nobody out. Perdomo steps to the plate. He gets the 2-run single. Then Smith steps up to the plate, hits that fly ball to center field. This is where Dalton Guthrie makes the play. I don't know much about Dalton Guthrie. I know I saw him last year for less than 20 games. This, I believe, was his 10th game in the big leagues this year. Like, he hasn't really had the opportunity to show you a lot at the major league level. So I haven't really seen his arm. So I'm watching the ball fly through the air into center field, and I'm thinking they're going to get another run out of this. And I'm like, I see Dalton Guthrie approaching, and I see his momentum still coming to home plate. I'm like, they might have a play here. And I'm like, show me that arm, Dalton Guthrie. Let me see what you got. And he unleashes the fury, makes the catch, fires home, gets Moreno by that much at home plate. JT Realmuto applies the tag. It stays a 3-0 ball game. And then they're able to get Martin to strike out. Wheeler gets Martin to strike out to end the threat. Now, this is where things get interesting. In the bottom of the third inning, Guthrie steps to the plate, and he gets on base with a bloop single to center field. That would be the first of 4 times the Phillies would get the leadoff runner on. The only time in those 4 times that the Phillies actually got a runner across the plate was Trey Turner's RBI single scoring Bryson Stott in the bottom of the 8th inning. That was the only time of 4 times the Phillies not only got a run out of having the leadoff hitter on, it was also the only time they got him past second base. Actually, no, sorry. It was the only time they got him past first base, because the 3 previous times they had force outs at second. That's terrible. You want to talk about not getting timely hits? That is the definition of not getting timely hits. And something that I did find interesting, I know the Phillies were swinging at the first pitch, and there was, let me see if this is right. It's the third inning, same inning. So Guthrie gets on base. Turner ends up flying out to left field in a 2-pitch at bat. Okay, so we're at 2 pitches after Guthrie reaches. Nick Castellanos flies out to center on a first pitch. Or at 3 pitches. Oh, Bryce Harper. Oh, what happens to Bryce Harper there? Oh, Bryce Harper grounds out to second on a 1-pitch at bat. 4 pitches after Dalton Guthrie reaches on a leadoff single. 4 pitches later, Henry's out of the inning. 3 outs on 4 pitches. Cool. Now, one thing that Henry was doing throughout this game, throughout his outing, was first pitch fastball. And he was locating it in the strike zone. So the Phillies were sitting on it, trying to drive it out of the park. And if you're going to have a couple of guys that are going to try to go long ball, Castellanos, Harper, I'm fine with that. Turner not working in at bat there. Turner not trying to make something happen there as a leadoff hitter, and you get the leadoff runner on there. I don't like that. I don't like it even a little bit. Castellanos, yeah, swing for the fences. Go ahead. Harper, swing for the fences, man. Have at it. Turner, rather see a nice long at bat there. Keep that pressure on Henry. And also, you could lay down a bunt. You could maybe just go for the longer inning or longer at bat. It was off-putting. And just when I started to get frustrated, the Phillies bounced back in that 4th inning by getting 2 home runs. One from Kyle Schwarber, the other from Bryson Stott. It's 3-2 after the 4th inning. And then this was the repeating theme. The Phillies would get something, and then they'd give it right back. Smith leads off the 5th inning with a home run, and then it's another struggle-filled inning in that 5th inning for Zack Wheeler. He comes out again in the 6th, and he's able to gut through another inning. He gets up to 108 pitches before he ends up shutting it down. 6th inning, Phillies get another leadoff runner on. They can't do anything with it. And then in the 7th inning, you get that RBI single from Trey Turner. Phillies had an opportunity to get more. Unfortunately, weren't able to do it. Stott ends up leading off that inning with the single. Marsh strikes out looking. Clemens comes in. He gets the single. 1st and 2nd, 1 out. Turner comes up, goes down to the count 0-2, and then still profits. Still helps the Phillies with the RBI single, so that was great. Castellanos ends up striking out. During the Castellanos at bat, Trey Turner steals second base. I'm not stealing with Nick Castellanos, especially if I'm Trey Turner. Now, the reason for that is Castellanos has hit a lot of doubles this year, so he could put one in the gap, and you have a speedy runner at first base already in Trey Turner. I don't like the idea of the steal being on there. And when Rob Thompson was asked about it after the game, because after Castellanos, Harper stepped into the plate, and now they could pitch around Harper. They could intentionally walk him, which they ended up doing. So essentially what it does is take the bat out of Harper's hands. Now, I believe it was a 2-strike count already with Castellanos at the plate. Why would you try to steal in that situation when I feel like it's going to be double or bust for Nick Castellanos? He's either going to put one in the gap or he's going to strike out. So if he puts one in the gap, Trey Turner's scoring from first base. If he strikes out, then you've taken the bat out of the hand of Bryce Harper, which they did. They intentionally walked him. I didn't like that decision. I don't know if that was just Trey Turner making that decision or if the steal was on. The way Rob Thompson answered the question after the game made me feel like it was coming from the dugout. Because what he immediately jumped to was, well, you had Castellanos still at the plate there. It wasn't like Harper was, taking the first pitch and Trey Turner was stealing. Either way, I don't like it because the potential is if Nick Castellanos makes an out, which is kind of likely, why would I take the bat out of my next hitter? I don't like that. Some people might say that's playing scared, but I think it's also playing smart. So 2-strike count, Turner takes off, Castellanos swings and misses, and now you can walk Harper. So then you get the bases loaded for JT Realmuto. And Realmuto flies out to center. So I didn't like that. And it was a 4-3 ball game. But hey, you make it a 1-run ball game. Then you come back in the 8th inning, and what happens again? You give another one back. This time Hoffman's out of the bullpen. He allows back-to-back doubles, and then you're down 5-3. Then you got Bellotti starting off the 9th inning for you, trying to keep things as they are. He can't do it. He issues a walk to Perdomo to lead things off. He later comes around to score. It's 6-3, and that's the way the ball game would end. Phillies go up there. And by the way, Turner, I will say this, one more compliment for Trey Turner. He goes up there against Chafin in the bottom of the 9th inning, and he goes off 0-2. Another 0-2 count is what he starts off at. Chafin then throws him a couple of nasty sliders. He fouls a couple off. He ends up working a full count. And in that full count, the final pitch of that at bat before walking Trey Turner, Chafin throws another slider, just dips down out of the zone. Turner takes it, doesn't swing over top of it, and you get a runner on base there. They weren't able to do anything with it, but still, nice little sign there from Trey Turner. I told you about Zack Wheeler. When it comes to just the line last night, Zack Wheeler's line didn't look great by any means, but like I said, and we'll keep saying, he did gut out a hell of a performance for the Phillies last night, going 6 innings, 108 pitches. He did issue a couple of walks in this game last night. Excuse me, I think 1 walk in the game last night, but still the location did not look great. 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 of them scored all together. 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, 2 home runs, give it up, 108 pitches. Not the best, but Philly skipper Rob Thompson was still impressed with the gutsy performance by his pitcher.
I thought he was better than the line. The Gurriel home run and the Pavin home run were probably the only 2 balls that were hit hard. Maybe Perdomo's base hit, but there were a lot of soft hits in there in the 2nd inning, and they did a nice job because he got his pitch count up. But he fought through 6, and that was huge for us.
Feels like you've said that a lot after his starts. Like the line didn't reflect how he pitched. I mean, how much though did you need kind of a shutdown inning there in the 5th when Pavin hit the home run?
Yeah, because we were building momentum, but it happens, and you just got to keep fighting, got to keep putting good at bats together, and we had some chances after that, but.
And unfortunately, we're unable to capitalize on any of those chances, which is just mind-numbing. The thing that just is really stuck, like, very rarely does it happen, but it happens where I'll wake up just thinking about the play from the night before, or a stat, something will stick in my mind. Like Daryl Morey saying we have a roster to win now, like something from the day before I'll wake up still thinking about, like, what the hell was that? Not getting the leadoff runner, the leadoff hitter, past first base. 3 straight times is just, oh God, that hurts. That stings. That's what that does. And that's what jumped out to me. So yeah, talking about not being able to capitalize on chances. And then Rob Thompson yesterday was asked about Trey Turner. And we're kind of looking for any morsel of hope that he's going to turn things around. Last night, his on-base percentage dipped below 300. It jumped back over 300 with that single he had in the 7th inning. So that's good. And he also worked a walk. So that is also good. But we're looking for any morsel of hope that he's going to turn it around soon. And here is Rob Thompson talking about Trey Turner since his day off.
Yeah, it looks like he's starting to back the ball up a little bit. And that's really the key for him. Being able to turn the field around, back the ball up. Even the first at bat, I believe, he struck out, but I think it was 8 or 9 pitch at bat. It was good at bat, so it looks like he's coming.
Is the older take the bat out of Bryce?
There's the question about Bryce Harper's hands. I told you the answer he gave. They still had Castellanos there at the plate, so there wasn't much they were going to do with that. I just want to double check that count real quick because it's one thing I meant to do earlier, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it even a little bit. Oh, it doesn't tell you where he stole. Let's see if I actually wrote it down because it annoyed me so much. 7th inning, Castellanos 0-2. Yeah. 0-2 counts. Turner steals second. Cool. Let me steal with a strikeout guy on pace for like 180 strikeouts this year. Let me steal second with him in an 0-2 count. Sports are fun. After the game, Rob Thompson did reveal he's a man of his word. He said he was going to say what the Phillies are going to do with their 5th starter spot. So the plan for tonight at 6:40, Matt Strahm will return to a starter opener role and then hand things over to the newly minted Phillies pitcher, Dylan Covey. He'll be the Phillies, I don't know if long man is the way to describe it, but it's going to go Matt Strahm as their starting pitcher. And then after that, Dylan Covey will get the start or get the rest of the game. I don't even know what you call it at this point anymore, but that's what the Phillies' plan is for today's 6:40 start time against the Arizona Diamondbacks, game 2 of this series. This is a game you kind of want to win because after this, it's Zach Gallen. He'll be on the hill for the Phillies, and that will present some issues because he's really good at throwing baseballs. And the Phillies are not really good at hitting baseballs. And that's where we are. Aren't sports fun? Good times. Hey, Sixers are still looking for a new head coach. Yesterday, Adrian Wojnarowski, and we'll get into this more with our friend Kevin Kinkead Crossing Broad. He put this tweet out there yesterday. ESPN sources saying the Bucks are narrowing a group of top candidates in franchise's head coaching search. Nick Nurse, as well as Golden State assistant Kenny Atkinson and Toronto assistant Adrian Griffin. These coaches will be part of the final conversations with Milwaukee's leadership this week. Great! Then he ends up following up that tweet with this tweet saying Nurse looms prominently in Phoenix and Philadelphia in their searches as well, according to sources. I think I'm at a point where I'm just buying in. And I'm not upset. I laid out for you guys before, like 3 coaches that I wouldn't be upset if the Sixers hired. Mike Budenholzer, Nick Nurse, and Monty Williams. These are 3 guys I wouldn't be upset at all if the Sixers decided to hire them as head coach. I just find it really interesting. And our friend Austin Krell wrote this story on paintedlines.com the other day about the tactics line that came up in Daryl Morey's press conference about the next head coach has to have good tactics. Okay. The Sixers, especially if they're not going to have James Harden, need to figure out some kind of spacing that works best for Joel Embiid and one that's going to work well in the playoffs. And a lot of this is going to come down to who the Sixers acquire, because I'm still in the idea that if the Sixers have James Harden opt out of his contract, if he opts out of the player option, right? And if the Sixers then hire Mike D'Antoni and re-sign James Harden, I am going to lose my damn mind. That is going to be very frustrating for me. And then I'm going to have to sell myself on the idea that Mike D'Antoni will figure out that spacing, which, by the way, he has throughout his NBA career. But still, it's a matter of having faith in the players to actually come up in the biggest moments. But I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm just saying that's the hit the explosion button in terms of blowing all this up. So I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, just know that my head will explode. That's going to happen. But what I think is going to happen is I think the Sixers are going to close the deal with either Mike Budenholzer or Nick Nurse, and I think that they're going to be the prominent names, as you see Adrian Wojnarowski talk about here, with other head coaching candidates as well. But I think Nurse is number one on their list, and I think it's going to be up to Nick Nurse to find out how this new offense is going to look. Because when we look at the free agency class, like Chris Middleton's out there, obviously a great shooter. But there's not a lot of names out there that are very attractive. We talk about, I know Kevin mentions Kyrie Irving. I know I told you guys the other day, you look at that free agency list and it's not really, there's nobody out there that's like, oh, this is the franchise changing guy. If the Sixers are going to make a overhaul or a significant impact in their starting five, it's going to have to come by way of trade, because there's not anyone out there that makes you go, now this team's a contender. No, nobody's out there that's making you think that. Like a contender to win a championship. But while the free agency class is lacking, the head coaching class is great. Nick Nurse, champion. Mike Budenholzer, a champion. I mean, even if you like Mike D'Antoni, he's a guy that's still hunting his first championship. Got a lot of wins as a head coach, and certainly you can say he had his best years there with James Harden in Houston. And he can certainly figure out spacing, so there is that. But the head coaching class, especially with Budenholzer and Nurse, these are two guys that have won championships over the last 5 years. The last 4 years, actually. These are all guys that pique my interest. Sam Cassell obviously has a familiarity, but some could say, and I would argue this as well, it might be a little too familiar to the previous situation. Maybe he's got his own ideas. If he did, they were in his back pocket during the playoffs. There's obviously guys there that are familiar with this team. Dan Burke is one of them. Dave Yeager is another one. So there's guys that are available, as we all know, and the head coaching vacancies that are out there around the NBA could be filled with some pretty good head coaches. It's wild to see the free agency class so lacking, but the head coaching class to be so plentiful. Right now, I think Nick Nurse is the guy. That's the guy that I think the Sixers are going after. That's the guy that I think could best figure out this problem here in Philadelphia. And if this is going to be a push to get James Harden, the last thing I want to see is Mike D'Antoni here in Philadelphia. It hasn't worked elsewhere. It worked to a point with James Harden, and we've already been to that point here in Philadelphia. Throw an MVP like Joel Embiid in the mix there, maybe it's different, but that's what I'm going to have to sell myself on if that's the direction the Sixers go. I don't like, especially like looking at the Inquirer, for instance, seeing Keith Pompey write about it, seeing other people write about Mike D'Antoni's name consistently coming up. And if that's consistently coming up, then that means it's a real chance that this happens. Because these guys aren't just, Keith Pompey in particular isn't just throwing crap against the wall and see what sticks. He's hearing from players, from sources. He's hearing from people, from sources, telling him that Mike D'Antoni is a real possibility. I don't think he's number one on the Sixers list, nor should he be number one on the Sixers list. But Woj constantly saying Nick Nurse to Philadelphia is a real opportunity, is a real chance. It has to be excited because I do think he's a guy with his tactics could figure out the new spacing and new flow of a 76ers offense that is based on Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. And then whatever Daryl Morey is able to work in the offseason when it comes to a trade to help bolster this starting five. Bolster the team in general. Before I get to Kevin Kinkead of Crossing Broad, Nolan Smith signed with the Eagles yesterday, signing his rookie contract. Now it's just Keely Ringo, who is the only Eagles rookie who has not signed. There is a lot of comparisons there with Nolan Smith and Hassan Reddick, and rightfully so. Talk about edge rushers, talk about speed, talk about hunger to get after the quarterback. Nolan Smith certainly has that. Hassan Reddick has that. But if you're really getting to know Nolan Smith and knowing his personality, there is something I've watched over the last couple of interviews, certainly his first press conference as an Eagle, his press conference after getting drafted, and then going back and watching him at Georgia, some off-the-field stuff that he was having fun with. There's another name that jumps to mind that I don't hear people really referencing. He is a great combination, I feel, of on the field what Hassan Reddick can do and off the field what Brandon Graham is. Like, I know sometimes people can look at it. This is before, obviously, Brandon Graham came with the strip sack in the Super Bowl. But there's some people that look at guys that smile a lot on and off the football field as maybe guys that aren't taking it too seriously. Like, we want guys that have that scowl on their face, that game face, right? Brandon Graham doesn't have that. Brandon Graham's always having fun. And you need guys like that. When you have the not ultra competitive, when you have the ultra serious guys, you need the guys to keep it light every once in a while. And I think Nolan Smith is that same type of guy like Brandon Graham, like personality-wise. Like, think that the Titanic could be sinking, and you can just be like, hey, those lifeboats look cool. Let's go over there. Like, there's just a guy that just always seems like he hasn't figured out. And Nolan Smith, I'll tell you this game is supposed to be fun. Some guys play great when they're just on edge all the time and they just have that tenacity about them. Other guys play great when they're loose. I think Hassan Reddick has that tenacity about him. I think Brandon Graham just likes to be loose, man. Just likes to be loose. Now, Nolan Smith, he's coming in here, for me at least, with greater expectations than Brandon Graham in terms of individual performance. I don't think that we're going to have to wait a very long time to see a 10-sack performance in a season from Nolan Smith like we did with Brandon Graham. And that's not to downplay Brandon Graham, but Brandon Graham did a great job coming off the edge for years, still did a great job last year. Double-digit sack season is incredible for him. So that's fantastic. But with Nolan Smith, I think he's going to jump more to the top of the stat sheet faster. He's going to jump to the top of the stat sheet faster than we saw with a guy like Brandon Graham. And I do think when it comes to playing-wise, we're going to see a guy that's very similar to Hassan Reddick, like all the comparisons are saying. And I think off the field and attitude-wise, we're going to see a very similar personality to that of Brandon Graham. And I know some people might not care about what happens off the field, but what's off the field is culture and leadership. And that does translate its way onto the field. But just in terms of getting that sample for the personality of Nolan Smith, I think he's going to bring a lot to the table that you see from Hassan Reddick, and I think he's going to bring a lot to the table that you see from Brandon Graham. Bottom line is he could be a show stealer when it comes to this Eagles season starting off, and I look forward to that. Let me tell you right now about my man Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. For over 40 years, Steven's been in the love business in Philadelphia, helping people fall in love and get engaged. Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, the perfect price. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Getting an early look at some of the chat right here, and you guys are having yourselves a good time. Let me tell you about our friends at BetterHelp. As you guys know, this show is sponsored by BetterHelp, and we're lucky to live in a day and age where people can talk openly about mental health. I've told you guys about my own struggles when I was younger with mental health, and I got the help I needed, but I wish at that time BetterHelp was around to help you get that help in a better way. BetterHelp helps fight that negative stigma that is around the mental health game. And right now they're talking about helping you out even more in an affordable way, anytime, anywhere, to get that therapy. BetterHelp will match you with one of their 32,000 licensed therapists based on your location, preferences, and therapist availability. Log on to BetterHelp.com. Fill out the questionnaire that asks you questions like what type of therapy are you looking for, what led you to consider therapy, and what are you looking for in a therapist. It's all about helping you in a better way at BetterHelp. They'll let you know how they can help you, and you can help yourself right there by logging on to BetterHelp.com/FarzyShow. That's BetterHelp.com/FarzyShow, and you can get on your way to living your best life with BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/FarzyShow. Without further ado, let's jump on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Talk to our friend Kevin Kinkead of Crossing Broad. Now, the Rothman Orthopedics guest line from crossingbroad.com, as well as Crossing Broadcast. Don't miss that as well. He also hosts a little program called It's Always Soccer in Philadelphia podcast. Our friend Kevin Kinkead joins us. What's up, Kevin?
Not much, man. It's great to be with you as always, from one suburban dad to another.
Now, before I hit record, we were swapping dad stories, and you have two little girls, two little angels, as I like to say. I have a little angel, and a little boy, Leo, as well. But how's dad life treating you?
Good, man. Couldn't be better. You know, what I would tell everybody is you got to like shift your mindset and put yourself in a different phase of life, because you're not like just like embrace it, man. You know, because it goes fast, man. I got to tell you, you know, you look up the next thing you know, they're like 4 years old or whatever. And you're like, what the hell just happened to me? So it's hell to deal with when you're living it, but you gotta enjoy it when you can. You know,
I like to describe it as early fatherhood is the greatest joy a man can experience while having zero fun. Like none of it's like you're planning a bachelor party. It's like, we're going to raise some kids. Yeah. No, it's just like
the ultimate test, because you're like sleep deprived and like tired and aggravated, but it's like, hey, they're never going to be this young and, you know, and this cute ever again. So I got to just, you know, figure it all out here, you know.
I try to set every time the blood starts boiling, I like where I start getting angry or frustrated, I go, you'll never have this time again. And then it just kind of, all right, okay, take a chill.
That's your like mechanism. That's your go. That's your like your namaste or whatever.
Exactly. That's my come to peace moment.
Yeah.
You know, hey, how's this for a segue, Kevin? Speaking of needing peace moments, those Sixers, man, am I right? Sorry. Those in all seriousness, I don't know where you're at. I've described different tiers to my audience of like tier one is, you know, just don't bring back James Harden, and like tier 5 is just blow it all up and trade Embiid and all that. Where are you in that kind of 1 to 5 range right there in terms of what the Sixers need to do? Blow it up or just start retooling here?
I mean, I don't think it's realistic that they would blow it up. So I try to think more of what I think a team is going to end up doing versus what I would like to see happen. You know, I just don't see any path to which they trade the MVP, you know? You know, and if you can somehow put yourself in a situation where you come back with Embiid and Maxey as a bare minimum and a new coach, all right, you can work something off that. You know, I don't know if you're a title contender, but I think the thing with the James Harden situation that I keep coming back to is if he opts out, or, you know, you don't want to offer them this extension or whatever, who is out there, Mark, that makes you better or at least as good as you were this year? And that's the thing. Like, it's like, if you want Harden gone, that's fine. Okay, I would prefer that he doesn't come back either. But I'm not just gonna, like, you know, boot a guy out the door without a thought of like, okay, well, what's the backside look like? You know, I mean, you could even talk about like the Andy Reid years. It's like, oh, fire Andy Reid. Okay, well, do you have a coach, you know, somebody who you think you can go to who's going to find as much success as he had? You know, so you got to think through these things a little bit. It's not a strong free agent class. You know, you got some guys who are on player options. I mean, who are your options? Like Chris Middleton and Kyrie Irving and Fred VanVleet on a player option. I mean, if you can lure Nick Nurse down here, does he opt out and come down? I don't know. It's not. There's no slam dunk, you know,
right
path to take here, which I think it makes it more complicated than anything. But I'm not going to do any of the trade and Embiid stuff to talk or like jump into the trade machine or whatever, because I just don't think that's a thing. You know, I don't think it's going to happen.
I 1,000% agree with you, because there is nobody out there in free agency, which is why if you shift gears and you look at a guy like Daryl Morey, it's like, do you trust him to wave some kind of magic wand that gets some great return on some trade that doesn't even involve Joel Embiid, that's going to put another star next to Embiid and even Maxey in this regard? Do you see a trade out there? Because I don't.
No, and I don't think there is. And like, you know, people were giving him a lot of credit after, you know, he worked something and James Harden chipped in to take less money and give them House and Tucker, you know, right? So I mean, we thought, all right, well, there's some wiggle room to bring some veterans in, and you know, and that didn't get him any further than everything else did, you know. But I don't. Yeah, again, I don't know. Like, we're always talking about some big like name in every offseason.
Dame Lillard, man.
Is Lillard the one? I mean, like, is he the either the Bradley Beal talk a couple years ago? There's that summer where people thought LeBron might come here, right? I don't know who the slam dunk, like, yeah, this guy's going to get us over the hump person. I don't know who that person is, so it's just hard to fathom that Morey can work some kind of magic here. Especially they're still carrying the Tobias Harris contract. Be easier for them to get off of it hypothetically because they're in the last year now, but that's still a ton of money, So it's like, how do you work yourself off of that? And for as much magic as he pulled that first year, moving off the Horford contract and getting them to the number 1 seed, like I don't see a linear path to that right now.
What is your confidence level then? Let's just assume for a second that it is going to be the Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid led 76ers going into next year, assuming that most of this stuff stays status quo. Are we looking at like a 7? Are we looking at a play-in tournament team? Like, what do you think? Because it also comes down to Maxey has improved steadily. One was the huge jump when he had to take over for Ben Simmons 2 years ago. And then this past year, he also improved 3-point percentage, points per game, all that jazz. So what's your confidence level in Maxey and this team if they're the 1-2 punch?
Anywhere from a 4 seed to a 6 seed, people can say what they want to say about Harden, but he was averaging like 10 assists per game last year. I think it's less. I honestly think, man, it's like less of the players that they have and the high end star power that they have, and more about how they played in the regular season, not necessarily translating to the playoffs. I mean, look at all the fouls that they were getting in the regular season. Look at all the times they were at the line. Embiid able to work his magic, rip through, feel the contact. James Harden feeling contact. I mean, they shot a ton of free throws, and they just weren't getting those calls. And so what's your option then playing in the half court? You're playing pick and roll. James Harden's trying to get his mismatches in his ISO. Joel Embiid couldn't do much playing out of the post. So you watch all these other teams that just have these perimeter guys they're loaded with perimeter dudes who could shoot and who can defend. And I just wonder if the Sixers are playing the right kind of game. If Joel Embiid is ever going to be able to play the right kind of game, that's just a match for playoff basketball. I mean, you have the MVP, but if his game does not jive with what the postseason is, then all the talk about like my mindset, mentality, and all that stuff, it might not matter because like stylistically, he just doesn't. He's kind of like incongruent to what works in the modern day NBA. I know people talk about Giannis. But he's more of a gazelle, like unicorn. Like he can get up and down the floor. He can run in transition. He'll just like bulldoze people on the way to the rim. And Embiid's not like that, So I think you can go back to the age old question of like, when's the last time a team won an NBA championship where the center or the big was the primary player? I mean, outside of Giannis, it's happened maybe like once in 20 years. You probably have to go back to like Tim Duncan.
Yeah, right. And then on top of it, Joker's not doing so bad there with Denver and what could be happening out there. Could you imagine? We thought people are pissed off when he won back-to-back MVPs, Kevin.
I know. It's terrible. It just keeps getting worse, doesn't it? Yeah. I'm not feeling any better the further this discussion goes.
I don't know if this is going to help or not, but how are the Union doing?
Oh, they're doing better.
Thank God.
Yeah, they're doing better. Yeah, they had a little bit of a. I thought they hit a ceiling there for a little bit, but it's funny, man, because people were giving me so much crap because I tweeted something to the effect of like, if Embiid doesn't have what Jalen Hurts has, he doesn't have what Bryce Harper has, and he doesn't have what I think I said. What did I say? I said he doesn't have what like half of the Union roster has, right? And of course, people took it the complete wrong way. I'm not saying those guys are as good, like the MLS players are not as good as like the NBA players, but like if they just had a little bit of like fire or a little bit of like desire, man. I mean, like those guys are blue collar, like grinders, hard workers. You get it. Bryce Harper is a dog. Jalen Hurts is a dog. Jason Kelsey is a dog. Lane Johnson is a dog. Half the dudes who play for the Union are dogs. Joel Embiid's not a dog. James Harden's not a dog. Everything we saw in that game 5. Now I'm getting worked up here.
I meant to not. I totally meant to not put the quarter in, but now the quarter's in, baby.
Well, I mean, everything that we saw in that game 5, where they would, they'd have like a turnover, right, and then there'd be a chase down block on the other end, and they'd immediately like rectify the mistake that they made. And they just looked like they were dialed in, and they were showing something to me mentally that we had not seen before. I was like, oh, this is like it finally happened. Like I'm looking at these guys, and these guys are dogs. And they had answered every question that we had about mindset and mentality, and they ripped two wins off in a row against Boston. They win up there for the second time in the series. I'm like, okay, we finally like got over the hump here. This is a different Sixers team than I'm looking at. And then that just goes straight into the toilet again. I'm sitting there watching Game 7, and I'm just thinking, like, what happened to this team that I just watched 5 nights ago? At that point, it's like a completely different team. They just, it wasn't that they lost the game, Mark. It was how they lost.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you went from PJ Tucker in Joel Embiid's ear. Yeah. And you went to think, oh, this is exactly what you needed. You needed this kind of guy. You needed this guy to rev him up and make him find more within himself, all that stuff. Yeah. And you found it. And then it just disappeared. It vanished. It was
But here's
gone.
the thing. I would even stop you there, and I would say, like, why do you need, like, does Jalen Hurts need anybody to go up and get in his ear?
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely not.
Does Bryce Harper need anybody to get up in his ear? It's funny because people always play, like, the disrespect card, right? That's like the most baseline level motivation you can have. Like when the Georgia players come out and they win the national title after clobbering TCU by like 17 touchdowns, they say, well, people had us going 7-5 this year. Like, dude, nobody had you going 7-5 this year. So if you can talk yourself into some kind of like disrespect, then you can motivate yourself that way. But the highest level tier 1 athletes don't need any external motivation. They don't need that. They don't need, their coach pumping, fake news into their brain. They don't need, PJ Tucker getting into their ear. It's innate. It's already there. So it's like, it was just so disappointing to see them do what they did in that Game 5, and then they turn around in Game 7, and I don't recognize anything about that team.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. As far as then changes for next year, we got to look towards a new coach, and that's where we're at right now with Doc Rivers being let go, and Nick Nurse's name is out there, and Nick Nurse is supposed to be sitting down with the 76ers, and Woj put it out at the time we air this, put it out yesterday saying that the Milwaukee Bucks were starting to narrow their head coaching search, and Nick Nurse is very much on that list. He's also on the list for the Phoenix Suns, and of course he's on the list for the Philadelphia 76ers. Is Nick Nurse your number one guy? And if he does go elsewhere, how much of a hit would that be to the future of the Sixers?
My number one guy is still Jay Wright. I don't think it's ever going to happen though. So I don't know if that's even worth talking about, but he would be, I feel like they just need somebody who's like, I would love like a Taylor Jenkins, like a young, motivated kind of first time NBA coach who like really wants to do X's and O's as much as, focus on like the macro level motivational stuff. But Nick Nurse is a good coach. Everybody says like, well, he just rode Kawhi to a title against like the injured Warriors. Okay. Well, I mean, how many coaches have rode LeBron James, right? And did Mike Budenholzer had Giannis, So, at what point are coaches ever going to get credit for anything? I mean, like that's the argument that we always have. But, in that 2019 series against the Sixers, he and Brett Brown went back and forth pretty well, making like the requisite adjustments, and he put Serge Ibaka into the starting lineup, and they were going double bigs and prep. He pressed the right buttons in that in that series. And then the next year, after Kawhi left, they went to 7 in the bubble with Boston. So I mean, Nick Nurse hasn't been coaching. I think the reason I like him more than some of the other candidates out there is because he feels less retreadish, less like a retread, I guess. He's only been a head coach for like 5 years. Mm-hmm. He's 55 years old. I think there's probably still some motivation in there for him. Whereas like when Doc came here, I remember him saying that he was going to take a break from coaching before the Sixers, job opened up. That was like a red flag went up.
Yeah, really.
How much does this guy really want to coach? Yeah, that's
I forgot about that. Oh man. Oh, we tore him away from the golf course, did we? Great.
Yeah, that was like famous. Well, it was funny. It was considered like failing upwards at the time,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then he didn't get them any further than Brett Brown did.
Mm-hmm. So. By the way, I do think Jay Wright coaches in the NBA someday. I know people like, especially from the Villanova crowd.
Yeah.
They didn't think it would never happen. And I'm like, if you're Jay Wright and you've been to the mountaintop twice in college, don't you at least want to try the NBA? Don't you just want to see what's there at the highest level, so to speak? Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What do you think what do you think it would take for Jay Wright to finally take that leap?
I think it would have to be a star drawing him. Like in a similar way to Kobe trying to get Krzyzewski to coach the Lakers back in the day, it would have to be somebody of that ilk saying, no, this is the job. This is the one you want. come here. I think proximity to Philadelphia and his family would have something to do with it as well. But I do think it would have to be led by a star saying you got to come out here and a team that's very close to winning and needs somebody to come in with some fresh ideas.
It's just funny because I hate the fact that I'm saying this, but it like that Knicks job with Brunson may be a better job than the Sixers job.
If you're Jay Wright, I think so.
Yeah. You know, because I'm just like I don't look. He coached Brunson obviously in college, and Jay has never. I mean, Villanova was a very heavily perimeter oriented team. 4 out, 1 in. I don't know what Jay would do with Embiid necessarily. Not saying it wouldn't work here, but like that may just be a better fit for him. I don't know if it's a better job, but I think like based on his college principles and the way that he operated, I mean, going back and working with that superstar being one of your former players, I mean, that may just, if he did take the leap, I mean, New York does make a lot of sense for him. Maybe more. I hate that I'm saying that. Maybe more than the Sixers,
Well, with the Philadelphia job, it's more pressure for Jay Wright. I mean, I know everyone will say New York market, more pressure, but not personally, because Jay Wright obviously won with Villanova. So everyone knows him here. Everyone expects him to be the brainchild here. He goes to New York. He's a great college coach that's trying to turn the Knicks around. And Knicks fans will be like, well, all right, we'll bring on the next one. Let's go. Let's see what he can do.
That's a good point. I mean, because, Knicks fans are tough. The New York media is tough, but they don't know him like we know him, right? So I don't think Knicks fans' expectation of Jay Wright coaching their team would be the same as Sixers fans' expectations of him coming here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, here is a deity. Here he's a deity. In New York, he's a successful college coach trying to crack into the pros. That's
Plus,
what he's just.
There's just a stank of like the process stuff kind of hovering overhead, and you're always going to have these people going back and doing the revisionist history stuff, and like just a lot of. You felt it, man. I mean, like the ecosystem like surrounding the Sixers ever since Hinkie has just been like. Just off, even when they're playing really well and they're doing well, there's just something that's kind of like sitting there that doesn't. I don't know how to put a finger on it, but it doesn't feel right. You know what I mean?
If we have damaged goods. As Sixers fans, we have this fan base has damaged goods. Considering if let's say you invested everything into Hinkie, and I liked Hinkie, and I like the idea of breaking it down to build it up. I wasn't all for give him 10 years to see how he can do this, But I believe there should be some, maybe 3 years of breaking it down to build it up and all that. But then it was the whole, not just the process, but then the NBA's process with the Colangelos taking over, and then Brett Brown having final say for like 30 minutes, and it cost us McCall Bridges. And then obviously have Brand come in, and he had final say, and then you have Morey come in. So it's like all this stuff that we invested so much time into just got jumbled up, shaken up, and tossed out to what we have now.
Well, and you also have this kind of thing too, where it was like, the nature of the process was so controversial anyway.
Yeah, right.
That, for the people who are anti-process, like for them, the only way that you can justify it is with a title. Mm-hmm. So imagine going into that every year and like, thinking it's like, because you got this huge, humongous thing hanging over your head. And nobody on the team, except for Embiid, was here when it started. Nobody in the building is responsible for anything that had to do with it, Mm-hmm. But that, like, kind of like malaise. That's what I'm saying. It's like that invisible kind of like, it's like I'm like breathing in some invisible gas that I don't know is out there. But it's just like this thing is there that says like, hey, like the process. Like there's like people who say you got to still justify this thing that may have ended 7 years ago. I don't know. Right. People always. I wrote a column about, I think it's funny how after they lose in the second round every year, everybody has this big relitigation of the process, and they pick this like arbitrary endpoint for when they think it's stopped or when they think it started. It's like that's a feckless exercise because it doesn't mean much now. It's like if you were anti-process, of course you're going to say it's still going on today, so you can continue to crap on it. But if you're a Hinkie disciple, you say, well, it ended when he left. Ultimately it's not. So many people. That was such a complicated and tangled mess of mistakes and errors and missteps that it's impossible to package that nicely into some kind of thing that we can talk about in 5 minutes on here. You know what I mean?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. I want to get a couple more things in here with you because you're a man for all seasons. Eagles linebacking core. Just want to jump to the Eagles for a second here. We were talking about it a lot on yesterday's show. Nakobe Dean looks like he's going to be your starting middle linebacker to this squad. You look around and you got some good edge rushers, obviously, but then your only other guy of any ilk is Nicholas Morrow.
Yeah.
Is this a low bar for the Eagles at linebacking core, or is this going to be setting a new high bar for them, considering the two previous guys were undrafted rookies that ended up making a nice career for themselves?
Feels like a little bit going back to Howie's first year with Gannon, or maybe that last year with Doug. I remember I did this story a couple years ago. We ranked the top 50, or we ranked every linebacker that the Eagles had after the Super Bowl. So I think it was the 4 years after that, and I think number one was like Nigel Bradham, and then I couldn't even remember who's on there. Like Leroy Reynolds was on the list. And
wow,
guys who like aren't even here anymore. But it feels almost like it's less of the like Nakobe Dean, yeah, but again, value pick, but we don't know much about him. Morrow feels like a utterly average. Again, not bad, not good, not just average. Tackling machine. So it's almost like they feel like they go back to their philosophy of like the most important thing is like our pass rush, and we're going to be good on the back end, and whatever the hell happens with the linebacking core, so be it. There's only going to be two of them on the field at all times, presumably, and because really the Eagles' base for all these years has been nickel. We'll see what Sean Desai is, but we'll see if he plays more dime or takes a linebacker off, or what he decides to do with them. But yeah, it does kind of feel like a throwback to the couple years before T.J. Edwards and Kaiser White, which is like, we'll just put some bodies on there and see what happens. We'll see. Nakobe Dean's an unproven commodity, so yeah.
All right, now. At the time we tape this, the Phillies are about to play their first game of a 3-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So watch Trey Turner go, 4 for 4 with 2 home runs and a triple, Yeah. But I'm going to ask this as best I can in almost a Seinfeldian way. Trey Turner, what's the deal with that guy? Why do you think he's had so much struggles in his early days as a Philly?
Yeah, man. I wish I knew. He doesn't look like a shell of the guy that we've seen the last couple of years. But it's like the obvious one is like his chase rate is way up. He's just swinging at stuff he doesn't normally swing at. Right? I want to say it's like in the 40, got up to like 40%. It may still be there. Just
43%, I believe, is what it was up to.
Just swinging the garbage. And like beyond that, he doesn't seem to even recognize like pitches that are in the zone. Too, it's like he doesn't have a feel for what's coming. Can't really read it. And say what you will about the chase rate. He's always been an aggressive hitter. Like he's trying to get on base. He's going to swing at stuff. So you're going to swing and miss, but not to the point where where he is now. I think Bob Wankel, who works with me at CB, he had a stat that he pulled on Turner where I think he was hitting. Last like 3, I think it was the last 4 years, the last 3 years, he was like 340 against lefties. And now he's down to 208 or something like that, which is insane. Like how does that even happen? Like falling off a cliff. The only like plausible explanation I can think of is that he's having like a Castellanos kind of year with his first year with his new team. He's just like not. What did Castellanos say last year? He just didn't feel like comfortable.
Yeah.
Here, he didn't feel settled here or something like that. I'm trying to give him the turn of the benefit of the doubt because I can't think of anything else that would be other than him just not being used to it. But maybe there's an added plausibility to that because they opened the season on the road and he was like mashing those first 5 or 6 games in Texas and New York. So I don't know. I don't know if that stat still. We'll see if that stat still holds. I think it was Phillies Muse who put the one up there about Trey Turner having better stats in the World Baseball Classic. Through it's more than this Phillies season, the totality of it. So.
Yeah, 44 games or whatever it was at that point. Last thing for you, because I have to ask you this question, and it bothered me, and I am nowhere near the person that follows the Union as closely as you do, but it pissed me off. I'm going to be flat out honest. It pissed me off when no one who has ever mentioned, talked about, or acknowledged the Philadelphia Union started using the Union's loss of a championship in with the 2 other losses in Philadelphia's 3. So it was like the Phillies lost the World Series, the Eagles lost the Super Bowl, and the Union lost. And that lost. And I'm like, you don't bring in the Union now just because it makes you crap on Philadelphia more. It pissed me off. Did it grind your gears as well?
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny. I kind of laugh at it because it's like, oh, now they want to include them. Now we're 5 for 5 when they lose a championship game, But I mean, I don't know. I'll take any win I can get. Anything that gets them publicity, anything that because at least people know they got there.
Right,
so, baby steps. But it's funny, man, because they they exited the Champions League a couple weeks ago, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, again, they may have hit a ceiling, And if they did hit a ceiling and it's getting to MLS Cup and it's getting to the semifinals of the Champions League, that's pretty damn good ceiling, man. I mean, for a team that really does not spend a lot of money. And I like the short version of a long story for like the casuals who may be listening to this. They decided to run it back, decided to run it back with the team that they had last year. And when you do that, you're kind of banking on those dudes all having the same amazing seasons that they had last year, And like in hindsight, okay, it was naive to think they were going to score 72 goals again and only allow like 26 and have like a historically amazing goal differential. But they've pulled it together and they're playing well in the league now. So maybe people kind of jumped off a little bit, needed like a union break in the same way they probably need a Sixers break now. So maybe they rip off a few more wins and come back around.
I'll be rooting for it. Rooting for it. Ladies and gentlemen, check him out. Make sure you follow him on all social media platforms, especially right there at Crossing Broad. Read everything he's got. He's doing a phenomenal job covering everything Philadelphia sports at crossingbroad.com and also Crossing Broadcast, which, by the way, Kevin, at the time we air this later today, I'll be on with you. I'm looking forward to it, my friend.
We'll do it. We'll do it live. We'll do a twofer.
What is it, $2 for $1 today? All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Kevin Kinkead, Crossing Broad, does a phenomenal job. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you, man. And I'll talk to you soon.
Sure, man. It's always a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Kevin Kinkead joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Oh boy. Hey, welcome. Hi, nice to see you. My name is Mark. That was Kevin Kinkead of Crossing Broad, crossingbroad.com. Yes, I will be on Crossing Broadcast with Kevin and Kyle Pagan, who does great work over there as well. He's a lot of fun to watch if you don't watch Kyle Pagan. So I'll be over there a little bit later today, right? A little afternoon. I'll be on with those guys, having some fun, talking all things Philly sports, of course. Yes, before I hit record on that old interview, Kevin and I were comparing dad notes. So that's a good time. Let me tell you right now about the great people at Freestone Farm CBD. FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You'll love their tropical tasting Bayox that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. So try Freestone Farm CBD at Freestone Farm CBD. If you like CBD, if you use CBD, try Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off. There you go. How about the people at Manscaped? Manscaped.com, the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Trust Manscaped and their skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. So try Manscaped. Join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. You'll enjoy their Platinum Package 4.0, which includes their Platinum Package 4.0, which includes their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, as well as their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And they both come with skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. So head up Manscaped. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. How about the great people at the PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsStation.com. Let's get into the chat check. Started over on the Farzy Show YouTube channel thing. John Cheeseborough. What's up, John? Nice to see you. Mally, John, Mally, Sean Kilrain. Everyone's saying hello. Sean Kilrain. I think Howie not done. I see him getting Patrick Queen or Miles Jack, just like we did with Kazir White. I am not to putting anything past Howie Roseman. I saw the rumors out there about Patrick Queen. I'm in. I saw the rumors out there about Miles Jack. I am also in. I do find it interesting, though, the linebacking core. As I said yesterday, I just don't get the sense that the Eagles have a lot of confidence in Nakobe Dean. I have confidence in Nakobe Dean to go in there and make some big plays for the Eagles, but I think they're going to go after another linebacker in all of this. Sean Kilrain, the Joker with another triple-double. Wow, yeah, he's incredible. We'll get to that in the morning rush. Phillies are so inconsistent. For like 4 or 5 games, they look unstoppable. Then the next, they look like poop emoji. Mally, I find no better analysis than that. I concur. John Cheeseborough saying hi to Sean. Go Sixers. Mally, they are consistently inconsistent. Such is life. Mally, Sean. April! What's up, April? April, it's so frustrating. No October games if they can't get it together. April, I am not abandoning hope yet. Hold on. What's the record right now? 22 and 25. They were 22 and 29. June 1st last year. 22 and 29. So let's hope they're a little better than that. It is May 23rd. Beep. Hello, Dick. Welcome. Steven Singer makes me think of my ex-wife, so that's why I hate him. Dick, good morning, Marcy Mark. Good morning, Dick. Sean Gillespie, hello. Monty Williams doesn't appear to be afraid to hold the team or shockingly himself accountable. I concur. That's one of the things that is stressed with Monty Williams is the player accountability. And himself, yes, of course, but player accountability as well. Sean Gillespie, no Kyrie, team killer Irving, talk please. I agree. Mihai Sanchez, Phillies are West cursed. Can't beat the Rangers, Dodgers, Giants. Now the Diamondbacks at home. No wonder why we lost to Houston in the World Series. I'm actually worried about the A's come mid-June. Wow. Howie Roseman, great show today. Thanks, Howie. I think you're doing a great job. Dick. Smell my finger is never not funny. Just a random comment like that. It's funny. John Carter, great show. Thanks, John. Sean Gillespie, dog mentality. Exactly what the Sixers are missing. Sixers haven't had that since Iverson era. Not the entire team, though. Embiid is all right, Jay. Let's play nice with the other kids. Let's see what else we have here. Now we're going to hop over to the YouTube, Jacob Media YouTube channel. Barry, you guys are having the great names today. Barry, what's up? Good morning to you. Can't let an organization of losers bring you down, Farzy. Sixers are trash. Thank you, Barry, but I'm going to let them bring me down. Kevin, what's going on, Kevin? Oh, just a teep. What's up, Just? What's going on? Farzy Sirianni, good morning. It did cross my mind, I will say, as my allergies kick in. I will say, cross my mind, you could have John Tortorella, Nick Sirianni, and Mike D'Antoni as your coaches in Philadelphia. I would assume Nick Nurse's last name is not Italian, but Nurse? I don't know. Just saying is all. Just a team. Yes, I do look like Nick Sirianni. That is true. Kevin Washington, the what they said Miami look, what they have done with free agents. Yes, Kevin, there's a lot of free agents, a lot of undrafted free agents. I see what you're saying. You're saying with all the free agents that aren't big star players, the Sixers, I think that's what they're saying. Maybe they can do it. Hopefully. Kevin Washington also saying we need to upgrade our player personnel for the help of other young players. I concur. Kevin Washington, Miami has 1 star. I mean, Bam's been an all-star. I mean, Jimmy Butler, yes, they have 1 star. It's Jimmy Butler. And they play a great team. And, yes, they play with a lot of heart. That's for sure. T. Effin. What's up, T? Embiid and a soft. His heart needs some Viagra. TFing. The Union? Kevin's a big Union guy. And you know what? I like the Union. I would say I love the Union. I don't follow the Union as much as I'd like to because I tend to be more of a football fan. Or excuse me. Yeah. International soccer. MLS, I don't really get into that much. But I root for Jim Curtin. Because I really like Jim Curtin. I like that Jim Curtin fellow. Eric, what's up? Hoping Denver wins it all, and B needs to be embarrassed. Wow. You know what? The sick masochist in me is going to find pleasure for some stupid reason in watching Jimmy Butler raise a trophy or watching Joker raise a trophy. And for 2 totally different reasons. Obviously, it's obvious with Jimmy Butler. I still love Jimmy Butler, and I wish he was here. But, I've said for years, ever since Jimmy Butler left, really, watch Jimmy. But even with Ben Simmons, when we still had hope with Ben Simmons, watch Jimmy Butler be that one card in the house of cards that if you remove, everything comes tumbling down. When I tell my grandkids about the process, Jimmy Butler's name will be mentioned. And the man that killed it was named Jimmy Butler. That's what I'll remember. Boop. TF, and I thought about PJ. Oh, the other reason Nikola Jokic is, Embiid wanted his MVP trophy. Now he's got it. Maybe now Embiid will want his Larry O'Brien trophy. Maybe that'll be the case. Maybe. They thought PJ would get them over the top. TF is saying this, by the way. They thought PJ would be the one to get him over the top. Now just take a second to think about take a second to think about that. PJ Tucker. That's what the front office thinks is key. This team will remain a joke with this ownership. I don't hate the PJ Tucker deal. I like PJ Tucker. I think you need a guy like that on this particular squad. Going forward, I don't know if you'll need that guy, but I still, regardless of who the head coach is for the 76ers, given what's going to be available via trade and or free agency, I still feel like we are looking into the abyss with the 76ers. And I feel like everything will be for nothing. Everything we went through as Sixers fans, the botched process, and there's no question in my mind the process is a failure. The debate comes in as to why the process was a failure. And a lot of that is on the league has a lot of blood on their hands with this. But bottom line is, I feel like we're staring into the abyss of continued doom. A lot of it was impending doom, and now it feels like continuous doom. And that's not why I wanted them to tear it down for 3 years to build it back up. Was hoping it would be a more successful run. Nurse Rivers to Nick Nurse. Bring in Jay Wright. Okay, TFN. Again, I don't think this is a good fit for Jay Wright here in Philadelphia. I think New York's a perfect fit for Jay Wright. I think Kevin was onto something there. King Early the Wise. What's up? Nuggets in 6. Okay. Joke L. Embiid. Needs to give that trophy to its rightful owner. Okay. Yeah, somebody needs to stop bleeding. Jeez Louise. Okay. Embiid is a fake MVP and not a real leader. Okay. This is all Early King, by the way. King Early, the Wise. The only thing he deserves is a frickin' haircut. Okay. Don't even know the union exists. Jay, how do you not know the union exists? Jay, sorry, but who cares about the union? Jay, kush. Jay, I could also use the weed whacker. Okay. Stephen Farrington. But how am I giving the Fightins a pass? Far's always giving the Fightins a pass. How am I giving the Fightins a pass? I'm not giving anybody a pass. No passes. I'm frustrated. I'm not happy. It's just that right now, I'm not going to doom and gloom the season in May. If I doom and gloom the season last year, which I did not, by the way, I still kept the faith last year. They made it to a World Series. So how about that? I do have a soft spot for my heart in baseball, I will say, especially for the Phillies. But it's also because it's a long season. Hey, you want me to give him a pass? Okay, Steven? Stay tuned. Because the Phillies, after this little soiree here with the Diamondbacks, they got the 10-game road trip where they got the likes of the Braves, the Mets, and the Nationals. If you want to see that man's head explode, oh, God, that would be the Sixers hire Mike D'Antoni and the Phillies lose like 7 of 10 on the road trip. Head blown, mind blown. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. Nolan Hassan, Travis Rickon says, Nolan Hassan, double digits in sacks. Let's hope so. Let's get to the Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. NBA Finals about to be set. The Heat most likely taking care of business against that team in Boston. What's their name? The Boston Celtics. That game is tonight, 8:30 tip-off on TNT. Last night, the Denver Nuggets fought back and beat the LA Lakers to sweep them out of the Western Conference Finals. Nuggets 113. LeBron James and the Lakers 111. Last play. First off, Joker, did you see Joker's fadeaway three? I believe it was the tie of the game. In Anthony Davis's face. Well, as much of a fadeaway heave could be from three. He hit that three. It was incredible. Joker, yes, did come up with another triple-double with 13 assists, 14 rebounds, 30 points. Meanwhile, I thought LeBron James, especially the early goals, what was a 31-point first half? I thought LeBron James was going to dominate for that entire game. I thought we were going to see a 50-burger from LeBron James. He ends up chopping only 40. Only 40. So, yeah. And then the last play of the game, Lakers, of course, down 2. LeBron gets the ball, dribble drive, penetration, gets into the paint, and gets the ball tied up. Can't make the shot. Time expires. Lakers lose. That is not the way I would have drawn it up, but that's the play they decided to go to. That's the play they decided to go to. Lakers get swept out. Boston's about to get swept out tonight. 8:30 tip-off, like I said. Phillies back at it 6:40 tonight. Try to take game 2 of this 3-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Matt Straub will get the start, and then Dylan Covey will take over. Oh, God. Then Dylan Covey will take over. Jay Owen is saying in the chat, 2-8 over the next 10 games for the Phillies. That's terrible. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That's the Farzy Show presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Jim Heidenproof's program did a wonderful job as per usual. Check me out a little bit later today. I'll be on the Crossing broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to everyone on the YouTube channel of Jacob Media Sports. Thanks to everyone at Farzy Show as well. I'll be back with you guys tonight, hopefully after a Phillies win against the Diamondbacks. That's where I'll be tonight. And then back with you guys same time, same place tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye.